I was hesitant to tell this story for a long time. Every time I think about it, a shiver runs down my spine. I'm a grown man with a family and a job, but remembering what happened in the late 2000s still chills me to the bone. And it's not just scary because it was a terrifying experience. It's scary because everything I'm about to tell you really happened, and there are witnesses who can confirm every word. On the outskirts of my hometown, there's an old cemetery. It was officially closed in the late 70s after a new one was built nearby. But burials still took place there, and local teenagers always went there for a thrill. This cemetery was called the Mournful, though its official name was long forgotten. It was surrounded by an old brick wall with missing bricks, and it had rusty iron gates, crosses covered in moss, and tombstones that had tilted with the weight of time. But what attracted the most attention was a particular site, an ancient family crypt. It was a small stone tomb made of gray rock, with an iron door and a cross that was partially broken and covered in lichen. There were all kinds of legends about it. Some said that a family of influential landowners who died during a cholera epidemic were buried there. Others claimed that it was where they buried not only the dead, but also those who were possessed by a demon. It was this crypt that was the reason a group of my friends went there one night. It was the summer of 2007. I was 19, a freshman in college, and I'd come home for summer break. One evening, my friends and I were sitting in my yard, and someone suggested we go to the Mournful to test the legends. There were 6 of us: me, Sasha, my cousin Igor, a girl named Katya, and 2 other guys we often hung out with back then. We grabbed flashlights, cigarettes, and a bottle of cheap wine for courage. We walked there with a sense of teenage excitement. It was scary, but interesting. By the time we arrived, it was already dark. Fog hung between the trees, and the crosses jetted out from the ground like black fingers. The atmosphere was so oppressive that even the bravest among us started exchanging nervous glances. "So, are we going to the crypt?" Sasha asked, pretending he didn't care. We went. The door to the tomb was locked with a rusty padlock, but the lock itself was barely holding on. Sasha hit it with a rock, and a minute later, the lock fell off. The flashlights cut through the darkness, illuminating steps leading down. The air was damp and so heavy it was hard to breathe. "Well, who's going first?" Igor asked. Everyone looked at each other, and then, I don't know why, I stepped forward. The smell inside was so bad it almost made me sick. It smelled of dampness and rot and something metallic like blood. We went down the steps and found ourselves in a small room. There were stone walls, a niche with coffins, and the remnants of half-rotten wreaths. I shined my flashlight on one of the coffins. The lid was ajar. Inside, I could see bones twisted into an unnatural position. "Oh my God," Katya whispered, clinging to Igor. At that moment, I heard it. Clearly, distinctly, as if right next to my ear. A whisper, quiet at first, then a little louder. "Go away." I turned around thinking one of my friends had played a joke, but they all stood there with stone-cold faces. "Did you hear that?" I asked. No one answered, but I could see in their eyes that they had heard it. Sasha laughed nervously. "Come on, you just imagined it." But at that very second, the flashlight in his hand flickered and went out. Then the second one went out. In the complete darkness, I felt something cold touch my neck. I howled and rushed toward the exit. The others ran after me. We stumbled and fell as we ran out of the crypt, and we didn't stop until we reached the highway. No one said a word. So, what? We were young. We got scared. We let our imaginations run wild. But that night was the beginning of the strange events. A day later, Katya's nose started bleeding right in the middle of class. Igor began having terrifying nightmares. He would scream in his sleep that they're coming for him. Sasha was found a week later at the train station. He was sitting on a bench staring into space. He wouldn't answer any questions. He was taken to a psychiatric clinic and diagnosed with acute psychosis. I myself started to notice someone whispering behind me when I was alone. Sometimes it seemed like a shadow was moving in the corner of the room. A month later, I decided to go back. Why? Well, I don't know. Maybe I wanted to prove to myself that it was all just a figment of my imagination. I grabbed a waist recorder and a camera and went there during the day. The crypt looked the same. The lock was gone, of course. It was brighter inside, but the atmosphere was still oppressive. I turned on the recorder and just stood there silently for a few minutes. And then, when I listened to the recording at home, I heard it. On the tape, besides my breathing, was a distinct whisper. "You won't leave." The voice was low, male, and the scariest part, it said it at the exact moment I took a step toward the exit. After that, I never went back. But the stories continued. In 2011, the body of a teenager was found there. The official version was an accident, but locals said there was an expression of horror on his face, and his hands looked like they were reaching for his throat. Sasha never returned to a normal life. His mother later said he would repeat, "They're standing by the bed," every night. Katya left town, and no one ever heard from her again. And me? I still see that crypt in my dreams. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and smell the dampness and iron, and it always feels like someone is standing at the door. Some things are better left alone. What we call legends sometimes turn out to be the truth. The old cemetery still stands on the outskirts of town. The crypt is still there, and sometimes in the evenings, locals hear a whisper coming from it. If you ever find yourself nearby, don't even think about going inside.